On the Cut. Reflections on life, work and trade on some of the main canals of England in earlier years of the century. The speakers are men and women who earned a living on and alongside the canals a generation ago and more. The years they recall are the ones when the waterways were coming to the end of their extensive life within the nation's commercial carrying network. The carriers, in many parts of the country, were families who made their homes on boats.
I've no other recollections of any life except on the canal, and that went on till I was about 10 years of age.
Had you brothers and sisters?
Yes, all older than me, and they'd seen life on the canal, and perhaps the weekend at home. The earliest memory I've got is Dad carrying me out wrapped in a blanket, because it was early in the morning, and he literally fetched me out of bed and put me to sleep in the boat to finish the sleep off.
How did life seem to you living on a boat?
Well, I took it all for granted, because when you're born to something, you take it as it's a natural way of life.
We were called water gypsies. People got bad impressions of us in them days. But although we were contained to living on them little barges, we had a far neater, tidy home than what they got as a house home. You got a job to do, you spent many, many hours, but as for friendliness and helpfulness, you'll never get a finer set of people living. But it was our way of life. It was the road what we were brought up to. You couldn't just get hold of a person, chuck him and say, now look, go and get on with that, compared to a factory job.
Men from the waterways of Cheshire and Staffordshire with a distinctive way of life. And in many cases, with that way of life went distinctive clothing. Here's a recollection of towpath trade at Long Buckby Locks in Northamptonshire.
There were two dressmakers at the bottom lock, Mrs. Tomlinson, the daughter, and Mrs. Clark up the page, you know.
Did they have a shop?
Oh, yes, they both had a shop. The shirts and the bodices for the boatman's wives and skirts and so on and so forth. Yes, all boatman's clothes. Mrs. Clark just used to look at the captain and weigh him up, and the shirt was there when he come back.
What sort of styles did the boatmen interest themselves in?
Well, they were a bit, the collars attached and the gussets down the front, you know, real old-fashioned type of shirts, you see.
What about clothing for women?
Well, just the old-fashioned stuff, you know, for the boat people. The old big skirts and the frills and so on and so forth, you see. The older women had the bonnets, you know. Yeah, they had the bonnets with the frills and that on, you know.
When it came to your own working clothes, what would be your choice?
Well, we went a little bit more modern, you know, with the ordinary town shirt sort of thing, with collar attached and so on and so forth. Well, I did anyway, a lot didn't. We just used to have, more or less back in that day, the corduroy trousers, you see, back in that day, because they were good and warm.
How fond were you of a belt?
Well, not too big. I used to wear one about 3 to 4 inches wide, but not like the ever so big ones like most of them did.
In the north, on the Leeds and Liverpool Canal, in dress as in other matters, there were different traditions.
I used to always wear clogs, and we used to all wear corduroy trousers, and they made a lot up Burscough, and they used to come up with a flap up front, you know, and you always have a good woolen jersey, a blue jersey, yes.
That again was a tradition.
Oh, yes, a tradition, yes. There was one particular day when one fellow became ill up Burscough. He got a nasty cold, you know, and he'd been at home 2 or 3 days. And they sent for a doctor. He says, what's doing you? He said, I'm getting a cold, doctor. Ah, he said, you've been a one with your fine shirt on. He said, I told you get cold with that jersey off.
A boatman from the Wigan area. Practically in the middle of the English waterways network is Birmingham. Many canals meet there, and over the years, life in and around the commercial basins has consistently attracted the attention of artists. Here, a Cheshire boatwoman recalls an encounter with one of them.
I believe you've got a lot of colours. He said, would you like me out painting? I said, if my dad let me, and he let me go. I didn't go that day, so next morning, come at 9 o'clock, took me in Birmingham to the highest building in Birmingham. When I got to the top, it was like little children, people was. Thought, wherever's he taking me? I got a bit worried at first because I got so many steps. When I gets up the top, I went in this room and there was a lot of young women and young men oil painting, you see. So I gets in and I looked through the window. I thought, oh my goodness, what a good way I am up here. But I was all right once I got up. So they oil painted me. And he said, put all the colours on as you've got. So that's how I was dressed when I was oil painting. My shawl and waistcoat. I've got a crocheted waist on there, and a man did that. And I've got beads. I've got earrings in. I had earrings when I was 9, and I've got earrings in. I've got beads in to match my clothes. Everything matched, but in all colours, different colours.
And then wasn't there a bonnet that you wore?
I never had a bonnet. Never had a bonnet. My grandmother had one, but I never had one. No, my mother never had one.
How old were you then?
18. That was when I was out painting. And I got 8 shillings for it.
And if that was the attire of the 18-year-old daughter in her Sunday best, how was father dressed when he was in his finery?
White cords, pilot coat and waistcoat with velvet on, and shirt, 4 yards of stuff. There was a shop up here, I get that lock, and there was one at the big lock at Middlewich. They made them shirts for the bookmen. And when you had them made, you pick your own pattern off a book, the material, what you was having it made out of, you see, which colour you wanted. So my dad used to pick his own colours, because he liked colours. And then they'd making these shirts, see, and then had all this feather stitched down all around his cuffs. And he always wore earrings, sleepers.
Did your dad use any kind of special headgear?
Only a hat, boatman, like they wore boatmen, you know, like a cap. But it was always very smart and measured shoes, yeah, made at Middlewich, and all fancy tongues on them, cut out. It was lovely. I had measured shoes when I was a girl, and my mother. That was before there was a lot of us, see. We hadn't got enough money after for all us.
You've talked about your dad being dressed up. Did your mum dress up?
Well, I did like me, but if we went to shopping anywhere, we went shopping. You see, I always put white aprons on and everything. Oh, yes, we always went clean.
A remark that made me think about washing days, which must have been quite a problem for families afloat.
I remember washing days all right, because I was the one that used to have to get the fire going and chop the wood and carry the water and all the lot. My mum used to use the old dolly tub. That's all she had. Never had no mangle, only her hands.
What could she use by way of a tub? Because you wouldn't seem to have one on board.
No, we used to have sometimes at these breweries. My dad being well known, he used to get a little wooden tub. And we used to keep it full of water nearly all the while so as it didn't shrink and leak when my mum wanted it. And I was the only one who just had to chop the wood and get everything, you know, prepared. When that were done, the old fire was going with the bucket on with the tar and pitch. My dad used to mix a little bit of pitch with the tar to put a bit of body in it. There'd be all your mates packed up with the towels that are going to have a swim, a scorching hot day, and there's you there, tarring both boats 70 foot. And my dad would be doing painting. Because my dad had his own boat, you see. And then all your mates are going for a swim and you're sweating your eyes out. Scorching hot day. And if my dad seen a spot on the water, he'd say, you know, that'd be as well on the boat as in there, you know.
Well, I'll tell you what we used to do when we get tied up. We used to get a fire bucket, what they call a fire bucket. We used to get a big bath and boil all the washing in that. I'd do the maid with a dolly tub. And got the old wringer on the shoe. And I used to dolly my clothes, wash them, and put them through the ring and hang them on the line. We never had dirty clothes in our life, never. And I make all my own clothes, and his shirts. I'll do all that, and do the boys. And that's how we carried on.
When we was up north, we mostly had what you call washerwomen. Used to pay about perhaps £0.50, 5 shillings a week, and they used to do your washing for you. But as for bathing and everything, you never had a bath. You used to have to wash down. I mean, there was no need to. I mean, we did look rough at times because, I mean, it's a dirty job.
But there wasn't much room to even have a stand-up wash.
No, but you see, you had to clear the cabin then. Well, you did it.
Everybody out.
Everybody out. Well, I mean, them days they had children on boats, didn't they? Because I was born on one. But you were brought up to it, so it wasn't different.
It's surprising how you managed. You know, I mean, to say with no bathroom, and no toilet, and nothing like that. But that didn't matter. We managed, and we didn't do any harm to anyone. I used to have curtains up. I had hanging plates up. I had brasses up like I've got now. And I had a little brass lamp, as was on the cabin, you know, on the side of the cabin to light at night. Yes, we made it as nice as what the home is, really. Yeah, we used to cover it with oilcloth and that, and it was nice and comfortable. You were a bit cramped, probably, if you'd got little children, but we were all right because there was only me and my husband, and we were all right. But those were big families. They didn't seem to bother because they had 2 boats, you see. If they got too many for one boat, they had 2 boats, and they were all right.
A glimpse of homes on the waterways. And I had occasion to ask a Leicestershire boatman what happened when it became necessary to transfer from boat to boat. In the course of his reply, it was interesting to notice that when he was running a boat on his own, he felt just as strongly about maintaining the homely traditions of the cabin as any boatwoman.
When I finished houseboating with my father, he went blind, and I had to have a motorboat. I had the Hawk. I lived on it for 2 years on my own, and worked it on my own, and I had a balance or a little curtain across, like a woman would have, a balance which my sister put in for me, which made the cabin look homely, and the stove was, you know, we had a nice polished range and a stove like, and fancy teapot and kettle and little ornaments on here, there, and everywhere, you know.
Did you get on with the painting?
Yes. In that particular case, the Hawk that we had was painted inside, quite nice, and that. But you see, you've got a painted stool and various things, little boards that fit here, there, and everywhere that you have, and sometimes you have to cut them to size if you get on a different boat, things like that.
All pretty lightweight, though.
Oh yes.
You were transferring
yes,
from boat to
yes.
boat.
Oh, you could change everything over in an hour or so. You know, everything from the bed, and the bedding was probably the biggest thing you took across. You know, you took over there.
In Rickmansworth, another boatman took up the theme of cleanliness aboard, which he thought was much more the rule than the exception.
The same everywhere you go, you have probably 1 or 2, you know, on the dirty side. But I worked all my life on the canal, and I dare say 1 out of 100 you'd see a little bit scruffy, but inside was always clean. I don't care wherever anybody went, on whose boat, they'd always find it nice and clean, because the wife wouldn't have it otherwise.
Several of the people I spoke with were happy to recall courtships and weddings in their working days on the canal. In some instances, wedding days were working days.
We talked it over, me and my husband as well, and I really wanted to get married at Wheelock Church, but he seemed as if he'd rather get married on top of the tunnel, Air Castle Tunnel, and that's where we got married. We decided, well, I gave way, and I decided we'd get married there.
Was there a tradition amongst boat people to get married in particular churches?
Yes, there were, because I knew 1 or 2 that got off at this end and went on top of the tunnel and got married and got on the boat at the other end. Yeah.
Did you have a break to get married?
No, I was still in the middle of my working week, and I had the day off to get married, and then, of course, I went and finished my notice for 3 days after. And then we had a week at home I had a week at home with my mother and father, and then, of course, on the Monday morning I joined my husband and we went off to Western Point.
Who was at the wedding at the church?
They were all off the canal that was there with us. They were all there with us off the canal. You know, people that my husband knew, because he knew more on the canal then at that time than I did, really. But they come to the wedding. Well, when we came out to church after we were married, we came home, we had a meal, and then we went down and finished off at the Cheshire Cheese. My brother played his melodeon. There was people there singing and dancing, and we had a real good night. My sister made a dress for me, and she also made me sister-in-law's dress that was my bridesmaid, you know, in those days. And anyway, I had my dress made as I could wear it after, on the canal.
What did your husband get married in?
Something like that there, Luke, that photo there. He got married in he's bought his things, really, to be honest with you. Yes, he did.
We actually celebrated Leighton Buzzard. That's where we got married, at Leighton Buzzard, in the church. We worked up to the day before we got married, you see, and we went to church and got married at church, had a white wedding, and then we went into the pub and had a celebration there, slept on board the night, and then at the time I worked for the Grand Union Canal Carrying Company, and my boat was the Ovaltine people, rather. My boat was on the dock at Tring, so therefore we had to travel back to Tring the next day. And then when the boat was repainted and decorated, we started work again. That was my honeymoon as far as I was concerned.
You met going along and you met at locks or when you was tied up talking to one another, and that's how it came about. You didn't have no special way of meeting. You just family and friends and get on that way.
Can you take us back to your wedding day, perhaps?
We was in lodgings at the time at Birmingham. I was working for the corporation, the electric department of at Nechel's power station, Sortley. Well, Nechel's there, just below Sortley. And it was beginning of the war. And we had to do some extra work. We didn't have a lot of time to spare. In fact, the days I got married, I went out early morning, about 4:30, come back at 12, got married around about 2 o'clock, and I had to go back again at 6 o'clock for the night shift. So that was all there was to it.
Well, we used to meet occasionally in Wolverhampton or where we had trial on the canal. And when we've been froze up, you know, weeks and weeks.
Yeah. We was in the pictures. And he followed me home.
To the boat?
Yeah.
And a while later you got married?
Yeah, about 6 months, wasn't it?
Oh, we got married at Acton Church.
We got married at Acton Church.
Just over in Antwich, Acton Church, that's where we got married. We got married at 8 o'clock Monday morning. We had a drink at dinner time, and we had to work on down to Chester the same night.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I got married at Acton Church, too. But at least we got married in a church. Yeah.
From altar to pub to work, there's luxury. On the canal, of course, the distance to the pub was usually a short one. I asked the former keepers of the Nelson at Braunston, near to Daventry, about the time that boatmen would call at the end of the working day.
They used to lock these locks up at 6 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning.
So it could be any time after 6 o'clock?
Oh, yes.
They could drink a drop of beer and all.
Good drinkers,
More
yes.
beer.
Always more beer. They were men that never really got out of hand. They always knew how to behave themselves.
At Polesworth on the Coventry Canal, Deeming's was a well-known shop which did good business with boat people. A former shop assistant there recalled goods that were often in demand.
All kinds of print and everything for making all these here dresses, the raw materials to make the clothes with. And they'd always come with the 2 bags because they'd want 8 loaves and a piece of uncured bacon.
At what time would they come?
Any time. even up to 3 o'clock in the morning if their boats come in.
You must have had a lot of confidence in them as people
Oh,
to open
yes.
your door at that time.
Oh, there was boat people were as honest a people as ever you met. People used to say how do you do to them and all that, but Mr. and Mrs. Deeman, they always held the boat people up with high esteem. She says they have made us. You know, with the boats passing to and fro.
Tributes to boatmen as customers, but a Northamptonshire boatman puts another viewpoint when he recalls the occasion that he confronted a butcher who appeared less than keen to oblige him with a few sausages. "Got none," said the butcher.
I said, "What about them there?" He said, "They're for the regular customers." I said, "Well, how much are they? Half a pound?" He said, "So-and-so." I said, "Well, you charge them the same price?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, my money's as good as theirs." I wouldn't leave the counter. So he fetched the police in. The police come in and I said, "No, I'm not leaving it." I said, "My missus is pregnant. She's fancied a bit of sausage." I said, "Here's the money to pay for it." I said, "He tells me he's got none." I said, "What's that down there, policeman?" He looked over, he said, "Well, what is that there?" "That is sausage, isn't it?" To the butcher, he said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, sell him some." He said, "No, I'm keeping it for the regular customer." He said, "They're only boat people." He said, "They can't come in here just buy what they want." He said, "Well, you've got a butcher's shop here to sell to the public." He said, "They are the public." He said, "Sell him some." No, he said, "You will." He said, or do I have to ring up for the sergeant?" So he sold it me. Had to go to all that mud just to get a pen up because we were boat people.
And that could mean being treated as a stranger within a few yards of your floating home. Here, a man from Hill Morton on the Oxford Canal near to Rugby reflects on his own sense of community.
It was a small environment, wasn't it, with boat people? So, all right, you married Mr. So-and-so's daughter, and how can one explain it? You would be related in a sense, but like I say, in that community, in that boating community, and that was all.
When you were with that boating community, what did you feel was your place of belonging? Was it the boat itself, or was it a particular locality?
No, the boat. You belong to that boat. I think so, anyway. Yeah.
Belonging to a boat, rather than to a street or a village or a town, as most people do. In that circumstance, other boat people tended to be passing faces, rather than close friends or colleagues. And the traditional way of dealing with nameless but familiar faces, not just on boats but elsewhere in life, is to invent nicknames. And that's how many people knew each other on the canals, even within the large families, to the extent that nicknames, in some cases, became permanent and even famous.
Oh, right from generations, the old man, look here, he was what they call Mad Parker, of course.
Were nicknames common on the canal?
You never hardly had a fellow, you never knowed his name anyway. The only man as I ever knowed was, with actually his name, was Frank Moss, what played football, centre forward for the Villa. And he worked on the canal. And he used to load boats to salt the sardines in Aston Chase Road.
Did you have a nickname?
Oh, I'm man, I am. Nobody calls me Fred.
And did any of the others in the family have nicknames?
Oh, my brother, he's Kipper. Because he's that thin, he's as thin as the Kipper. Now, just the same with the other, I got uncle, my Uncle Jim. They never called him Jim Parker. They used to call him Mucky, or Muck Parker. Because he used to carry boatloads of manure all round up here to these farms, and down Kearduth and Minnoth and all round there. And he used to have all the muck that went in Birmingham. He used to have all the stuff from Marsh and Baxter's, all the sweepings out the road. And matter of fact, he can go far as back to have it from the tram sheds, when they had all strands, see? Because that's going on before my day.
Taking part in today's programme were George Marlowe, Len Beardmore, Henry Grantham, Tom Almond, Annie Brooks, Jack Monk, Joe Safe, Mary Safe, Reg Barnett, Alice Barnett, Agnes Hollinshead, Alf Best, Mr. and Mrs. Hubert Clark, Mr. and Mrs. Atkins and family, Eliza Hodgkins, Jack Kent, Noel James and Fred Parker. Today the theme was families on boats. Next time it's boats themselves.